What's up, family? Man, it's nippy out here, but it's beautiful. I'm just sitting here and just looking at the snow-capped mountains, and it's beautiful. It's just, man, life is good. I want to talk to you guys about something today. Um, Something we need to talk about. You guys know I love reading. I love learning and growing. There's a book that I have that, man, everybody needs to read this book. I have a lot of books like that, and I say that a lot, but this book right here, Walden and Civil Disobedience by Henry David Thoreau. I have this book, paperback and hard copy, because I love it so much. I wanted both of them. You know, um, Especially this one right here, the paperback one. Man, this book is. When was this one read? This copy right here that I have was. I don't know if you can see that. This one was printed in 1960. 1960, 10 years before I was born. Civil disobedience. That's what I wanted to talk about today. Civil disobedience. What do I mean by civil disobedience? First of all, most people don't even think for themselves. Most of us are programmed by social media, news, family, religion, our neighbors and communities. So most of us, we don't even have an original thought. We're told what to think. We're programmed what to think. And that's the sad reality of, especially in America, where most people are scared to go against the grain. Most people, you grow up in a family, and whatever your family's politics are, that's what your politics are. Whatever your family's religious beliefs are, that's what your religious beliefs are. And you live in communities and you get jobs, and whatever the majority of the people go with, that's pretty much what you go with. You don't want to kick against the grain. You don't want to go upstream from what everybody else is doing, because we all want to be accepted. And so we get on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and all these other social media outlets, and our communities and our friends pretty much say the same stuff, and we pretty much spew the same dogma that everybody else is talking. Why am I talking about this? Civil disobedience. If that's the norm, and we could pretty much all agree that's the norm, when do we stand up to the matrix? When do we stand up and say, you know what, I'm done, I'm disconnecting? When do we stand up and say, you know what, man, I'm not believing this crap no more. I'm gonna do my own research. I want to do my own thorough investigation. I'm not gonna look at the propaganda that they're giving me, that they're spoon feeding me, and just accept it and embrace it anymore. I'm not going by what these preachers talk about no more. I'm not just taking their word for it no more. I'm not taking the politicians' word for it no more. I'm not taking these teachers and these professors' word no more. Let me do my own investigation. Let me do my own thorough research. Let me learn how to think for myself. Let me learn how to speak my own opinions and not the opinions of others. It takes a strong person to be able to do that. Most people aren't courageous enough to do that. Talking about civil disobedience. Most people aren't courageous enough to stand up and say, you know what, man, I don't care what you guys talking about. That's all BS to me. That's all stupid stuff. That's all ignorant stuff. Most people ain't courageous enough to say that. Because most people are now, especially in America, we're so scared of offending somebody, of being politically incorrect and stepping on somebody's toes and all that other stupid stuff that they use to silence us, but we're not even aware that we're being silenced. And so we learn to go with the flow and to kill our own originality just to be accepted. We kill what makes us us because we want to be accepted by everybody else who's bought into the BS, hook, line, and sinker. Civil disobedience. I'm not a Democrat. I'm not a Republican. I'm not any of the political stuff. I have no political affiliation whatsoever. They're all BS. They're all garbage to me. All of them. That's me. I don't trust any politician, any of them. That's just me. Why am I having this conversation? Because it breaks my heart seeing and hearing my family, my friends, completely convinced that their political group, their political affiliation is the best thing for us. The political affiliation that they have, whether it's the left, whether it's the right, whatever, it breaks my heart hearing them spew that dogma, knowing that they are convinced, that they have bought into it, and they believe this with every fiber of their being, and that they're willing to fall on the sword for their political affiliation. That breaks my heart. It breaks my heart hearing people talk about religious groups and the religious affiliations and pushing that agenda. And to each their own, you know what I mean? To each their own. I'm not here trying to condemn anybody. I'm not here trying to put anybody down. I want to ask the questions. Why do you believe what you believe? And don't tell me you believe it because your mama told you, your grandma told you, your pastor told you this, your teacher told you this, your professor told you this, your cousin's best friends, uncle, daddy was such and such. Man, I'm not trying to hear all that stuff. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to hear that. What have you done to research your own stuff? And you can't do research. You can't do logical research by accepting the books that they give you to read. You know what I mean? If I'm pushing a certain agenda, then obviously I'm going to give you books that's going to push that agenda. You can't be a free-thinking individual if you're taking the books that I'm giving you and the books that I'm saying are good books for you to check out because I'm pushing a certain agenda, and you read those books and you're like, oh yeah, I did my research and I read this book and I read this book and I read this book, and they're all the books that I'm pushing. That's not doing no thorough investigation. That's not doing no research. That's not doing your due diligence. That's you taking the books that I'm giving you and formulating an idea. You're not even formulating an idea. You're just taking all the garbage that I've given you in that book and told you to read it. And now that's part of who you are because you believe that. See, when you do your own due diligence, you'll go get books that completely disagree with everything that you stand for. You'll get books that completely disagree. You'll get books that agree with it. You'll get books that are like, yeah, no. And not just books, you'll go, and there's so much that you could do to do your own due diligence. But you got to be willing to put in the work. You can't just watch a couple of YouTube videos and be like, okay, yeah, I researched it. Civil disobedience. We don't even know how to think for ourselves anymore. We think that because we watch news or we listen to some radio shows that we're making up our own minds. I'm laughing, but it's not funny because it's true. The great majority of us think that we're free individuals because we watch conservative news media or we listen to Rush Limbaugh or any of that other garbage. And I'm not just talking about him. There's garbage on all sides, left and right. But you can't listen to that garbage and say, okay, yeah, well, I made up my own mind. This is true. You could do it if you want to, you know what I mean? But I'm not listening to anything you got to say in regards to being free, in regards to being woke. That's not being woke. That's not being woke at all. The great majority of us don't even realize that they've so dumbed down the terminology of what being woke is. This woke generation is more blinded than ever before. This woke generation that we got going on right now in America is more ignorant of what's really going on in our government, in our religion, in society. We have absolutely no clue what's going on. But we swear we're enlightened. We swear we're woke. Because that's what they told us to think. Because that's what they programmed us to believe. And our ego has bought it, hook, line, and sinker. And now because we spew some conspiracy stuff or because we talk about certain topics, we're convinced that we're woke. We're convinced that we're enlightened. We got to do better, family. We have to do better. We have to learn to disconnect from the matrix. We have to learn to unplug from the matrix. Because see, here's a trip. They have us so programmed, so brainwashed, that the great majority of us think that we're disconnected from the matrix. The great majority of us think that we're woke. The great majority of us think that we're enlightened. The great majority of us think that we're free thinkers. When in reality, they're programming your thinking. They're telling you what to think. And you're not even woke enough to see that you're being programmed. You're not even woke enough to see that they're spoon feeding you every single thought that you have. We have to do better. Happy healing. I love you guys. Peace.